Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Uh, so I'm here to talk about indoor training, the most exciting part of the evening. Uh, no, we'll try to make it interesting. So look, indoor training and riding indoors is an important part of most cyclist journeys and their fitness journeys. Um, and it's been an especially important part of my journey over the last year. So you heard Daman Bhai talk about recently about being the year of recovery. I was one of those people that was seriously injured last year, and before I get too into details on this, those of you that are new here, I want to let you know that cycling is probably one of the most safest sports there is. It is safer than running. It is safer than most contact and all contact sports. So don't take my story to be representative of any experience. However, unique experiences like this allow for unique stories, and I'm going to share mine. Last year, while I was riding, there was a dog that was unleashed and ran up behind me. I'm trying to get away from it. I made some wrong turns and I ended up in a ditch. What ended up happening was I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. I ended up with a concussion, two skull fractures. My nose came off. I needed facial reconstruction, and I had a traumatic brain injury that came out of that. Um, the It was rough, and coming out of that, obviously the first thing I asked my doctor was, when can I get back on the bike? And my doctor tells me, you're not getting back on the bike. If I can keep you on the bike, off the bike for a year, I will keep you off the bike. But because you asked me that question, I know I won't be able to keep you off the bike. So what he asked me to do was to not get on the bike for 6 months, to promise him that I won't get on the bike. But an indoor bike was okay. What they were trying to do was trying to make sure that I didn't hit my head again. So he's like, look, try to reduce your riding outside for a year and just don't get on the bike for the next 6 months. You can't afford it, right? Now, most people don't consider indoor riding simply because they're injured, but it is an important aspect to think about, right? I said cycling is one of the safest sports. It's because many athletes who actually get injured doing other things end up coming to cycling because of how safe it is for overall injury protection and whatnot, right? So if you're dealing with an ACL injury, if you're dealing with brain injuries, things like that, it's actually really good to start cycling because of how safe it is, and indoor cycling as well, right? So just wanted to start with that. It's a great way to build up your fitness. But there are other reasons as well, right? And it's not just because you're injured, you got to train indoors. There are other reasons to train indoors. First of all, we all live in Canada. If you think riding outside right now is brave, in a month from now, it's going to be absolutely stupid. So you got to think about how you're going to keep your fitness up through the winter. Endurance sports require you to keep your fitness levels and over long periods of time, and 6 months of not riding is not good, right? So just a little bit of riding is always important. Indoors is a great way to get that. The other reason why you want to consider indoor riding is that we all have real jobs. We're not getting paid to do this, right? And just that extra effort of waking up every morning, getting into a jersey and everything like that takes a lot of time. And being able to jump into something indoors real quick means that you can have a job, you can have a family, and still continue to be fit, right? And probably the other reason I want to impress upon you, even cyclists who are pros actually consider indoor riding, largely because indoor riding allows you to do very structured forms of riding. It allows you very perfectly dose yourself with the right kind of effort, so it actually creates the right kind of adaptations in you so that you actually get stronger faster. So for these reasons, it's actually very recommended, or most cyclists have indoor riding as part of their journeys that they do. Um, Now, before I start getting into smart trainers and your training programs and whatnot, one thing I wanted to sort of take a quick sidebar into is we're going to be talking about various indoor trainers and whatnot and how to build your training plan around them in a little bit. But indoor training is really not the only way, or smart trainers are not the only way to train indoors. You'll hear in a little bit that what we want you to think about is, like, we'll tell you how volume is important, how getting on the bike is important in your fitness. So the reason I put this slide up here is, or this up here, is to let you know that there's more than one way to stay fit over a winter, right, in Canada. Um, you know, do what works for you is my main message to you tonight. We'll get into the training programs and how to optimize all that stuff. None of that really matters as long as you're getting on the bike, right? If there's one message you're going to take away from here tonight is get on the damn bike, right? If you want to get stronger. I realize one of those is not actually indoor riding, but if that works for you, go for it. There are people who did that. I haven't seen anyone in this group do it. I guess we're all brown. But I've seen it, right? There you go. Sorry. We have a number of people that do velodrome here. So if you're interested, you can actually connect with them, and they're gonna. There's a velodrome up here in Melton, which they go to every week. There are spin classes as well if you're into dancing, and later today we're going to demonstrate these two here, which is rollers, which is not smart trainers, and then smart trainers as well. We're going to give you a demonstration of them later today. Whatever works for you. When I'm going to talk about building a training program next, all of these will work fine for building your training program, right? I'm going to get into that a little bit now, which is how should you think about training every in the winter. Now, I've had the privilege of actually working as I was sort of getting better from my injury. I had the privilege of working with doctors who really guided me through helping me understand exactly what I needed to do to get better. Exactly the kind of workouts. But I've also had the privilege in the past of working with cycling coaches, right? And I had a lot of time on my hands. I did a lot of reading and research. And folks from across this group, Yusuf, Atharva, like you've been phenomenal helping me understand what I need to focus on to ride. And I want to share that back with the folks here. Is like what is truly important when you're trying to ride. Now, I will say that what I'm going to show you here is actually scientifically all is what's recommended, but you don't actually have to go into the details and all that, right? I'm going to try to keep it simple for the folks right here. The first and most important thing that you need to get fitter on a bike is to get on a bike, right? Which is training volume, which you see at the bottom over there. It is really what counts as the majority of your fitness. It's volume is king. Look, all of us are, when you look at the pros and what they do, right? They train 20 to 30 hours a week. That is not us. We are constrained from a volume perspective. Any extra minute that you're going to get on the bike for is actually going to make you stronger, right? So what I tell people is when you're thinking of building a training program, think about what is the way that you're going to that's going to get you most interested in getting into a bike, right? Is it going to be a roller? Is it going to be going outdoors on a bike? Is it going to be a velodrome? All that really matters is that you're able to put an extra hour, an extra few minutes, an extra half hour on that bike, right? That's honestly all that matters. What we say is 4 hours is good, 7 hours is great, 25 hours is you're a pro, but you're not a pro. So don't worry about getting there, right? The next thing that I'll say is like once you've gotten that thing down, right? When you're building your training program, when you figured out, hey, I can put 4 hours a week in my program. The next thing you want to say is, okay, if I can do 4 hours a week, let's make some of that hard, right? Sometimes go hard, not every day, right? But every now and then, doing a little bit of intervals, high interval training as they call it, or doing some sprints every now and then, right, is going to help you get stronger faster. Now, by the way, I could have stopped up there at the volume thing and just ended this whole thing, right? Volume is really all that matters. 60-70% of your fitness, if not more, is all in volume. But when you start to going down this pyramid and start doing extra stuff, it's just to get that extra, thing out of the time that you're putting in. And going a little bit hard every now and then is only going to help you a little bit, right? Now, after that, let's say you want to be a little bit more precise. Let's say you wanted to be like, no, actually, I'm going to get the most bang for the time that I'm putting into it. I'd say polarized training or mostly go easy. That's what this one is. In fact, it's been shown, even amongst the pros, especially amongst the pros, that 80% of your riding is actually embarrassingly slow. You should feel like you're going slow 80% of the time, right? And only 20% of the time is what you should be going hard. I ride 5 times a week. 2 of those days I ride hard. 3 of those days, which is the majority of that time, I will go really easy. And Yusuf, who's probably Yusuf and Atharva, who are the strongest riders here, will tell you the same thing, right? 80-20 polarized training is the way to go, right? Um, sorry, if you wanna go next. Um, the the next thing that I'm going to say, so volume is king. Sometimes go hard, mostly go easy. And then this piece of advice is actually especially important, even though it's not scientifically proven, but you can all agree with this. Plan training around your life, right? We're not going to go be the Tour de France, right? We have to think about how we're going to incorporate riding into our lives, into our families and whatnot. What that means is you think about the winter period that you have ahead of you. It's 6 months before the summer riding starts. You're not going to go hard for 6 months, right? So plan around that. Plan for hard months, plan for easy months, for off work. Ramadan is coming. Think about how are you going to be lowering your volume then so you can focus on spirituality and religion, right? Work all of that into your training plan. Cycling is a long-term health goal that we're all incorporating into our lives. We're not trying to get there fast. We're trying to be healthier for the rest of our lives, right? And it only becomes easier when you're able to incorporate that into your daily routine and it doesn't intrude in the rest of your life. You'll be healthier for longer. Got it? And the last piece of advice I'm going to give you is this right here, is avoid the bro science when it comes to cycling. A lot of you are experienced with the gym, and you know what I mean when I say bro science, right? And that is everything beyond what I've just told you about, right? It might work, it might not work, right? There's fasted training, high altitude training. What else is there? Keto diets, things like that, right? All of them might work, but they're also going to ruin your social life and make you cranky, right? So the benefits that you're getting by the time you get to this point are so low that I wouldn't really focus on it. The time you will save not researching this stuff and being on the bike is going to be much more helpful to you, right? So that's my advice to you is just focus. If there's one thing you're going to take away, it's volume, right? And then for the rest of the stuff, it's a nice to have, right? But it's all going to improve you, right? Now, I know I'm not gotten into specifics on training plans and what to do in every day. That will come later as whatnot, but just remember this, is if you just follow these rules, you will get fitter over the winter, right? Now, how can JCC help you on this journey that you have, right? There's supposed to be a title, sort of messed up here. No, I messed it up. It's my fault. I might have done something. There you go. So we're going to help you on this journey, right? So if you're part of the club, and even if you're not, right? I just like, and most people will agree to this. We love riding, and we want others to see other people riding. It can be pretty complicated to figure out how to get your indoor training set up. So the way JCC helps, and a number of riders that have gotten into indoor riding this year, is we help you actually get set up with all the hardware and software that you need to actually run an indoor setup, right? So we'll help you understand what do you need to buy and whatnot, what apps do you need to install, all that stuff. We'll help you through that, right? Just ask. The next thing that I'm happy to help you with, and I'm sure others maybe will help you with as well, is that if you want to get specific into building a training plan, which talks about how many hours you're going to put in and what ride you're going to do, you can get pretty specific on this stuff. There's training programs that some apps will give you, but if you just need a little bit of advice on what days to ride hard and what kind of sprinting to do, please reach out. I'm happy to help you sort of create something really basic that will help you get there. If you don't want to work with a coach directly, I'm not trained as a coach, but I can help if you need that. The next thing we do is, we talked about this a little earlier as well. Every Sunday, we have virtual group rides, and we're going to be starting them again for this year. And what we're going to be doing there, what we do there is that we all sort of get together virtually online. We'll chat for an hour and a half, and we'll do a group ride like we do in summer. It's a great way to sort of connect with your brothers and sort of talk about events. And what I'll usually do in some of these virtual rides is that I'll actually do some extra, help people understand about nutrition as it comes to fitness, understand rest, understanding different zones and training and how they impact you. So I sometimes run these virtual group rides and sort of help you learn about training. And these are great ways to learn around the science around cycling and all that other stuff. If you're interested in that, please join us. And the last thing we do is motivation and advice. Arif was quite motivating this time around, but he can be pretty demotivating on the WhatsApp groups. If you want motivation, I would talk to Yusuf. He's much more motivating. But it's actually a great thing we have there. Is if you have any questions, if you did some training, if things are not working the way that you are, please come ask. Right? You have people with lots of experience that are more than happy to help you. So those are the ways that we can sort of help your journey as part of GCC as indoor training, both in winter but then also in summer. Most of the stuff keeps going on. You don't stop indoor training in summer. I still do. I think that's all I have.